Philadelphia. Je suis John Barchard. Bell the Birdmen. It is the Gardner Minshew mustache episode, everybody. We got a lot to get into. I'm John Barchard. That is Vince Quinn. Taylor Kredatus behind the camera. One day we will get him on it. I promise you that. Feel free to jump in the Discord at bellandthebirdmen.com. Text us 215-509-5833. Minshew time. It is Minshew time. That is why the mustache is here. And honestly, I don't even know if it makes it till Thursday. More on that later. Vince Quinn, a man of many thoughts on this as we were going through a lot of different things. And that's what I'm saying. It's either pedophile or cop. There's no real way to maybe possibly Luigi.
Well, no, very definitely. Can you get the green hoodie real quick? You got it right there behind you. I need you to put on the green hoodie, and then I'm going to throw you my hat because this is how you walked in the door. So I want people on YouTube to see this. John walked in the door. I'd seen a picture of the mustache. I had not witnessed it in person. I was blown away. It is very thick. It's a strong mustache. All the beard is gone. I've never seen this look from John before.
There's some
I will probably never
there.
see it again. Kerry, you're welcome for that. Yeah, put this on because seeing all the layers of green with the mustache, it's such a Luigi look. Is that not the most Luigi thing you've ever seen in your life?
Hey, Gardner Minshew is going to. That is a terrible Italian.
Well, it's better than Chris Pratt's Mario. So you're in a great job. You're going to co-star with him coming up. But yeah, I mean, dude, I guess let's just get into it. I mean, it is chaos out there. Gardner Minshew's hurt, or not Gardner Minshew's hurt. Jalen Hurts is hurt. And I guess I'm the jinx, I think is what I've learned from this.
Yes.
I'm a massive jinx in so many different ways. I talk up Dallas. Everything goes to shit for Dallas. I talk about Jalen Hurts running the ball more.
You talk about Jalen Hurts being the next Tom Brady, and then this stuff happens.
I've said he's the closest thing I've seen to young Tom Brady. It is not that complicated.
We don't need that on two shows.
I'm not comparing him to 2007 Tom Brady. How dare you?
But more interesting to me, you said something to me which I don't think you're alone in sharing this opinion. It's very up in the air on like how bad the sprained shoulder is for Jalen Hurts. Enough to move a line up to 6 now, I believe. Is that correct, Taylor Kredatus? So that's a huge jump.
Yep.
Then it just seems like he could go if he wanted to. So what's your opinion? What's your overall take on this? We have all the information. Jalen Hurts is clearly hurt. It didn't sprain. It didn't break. Fuck that Chicago Bears Soldier Field coldness and all the things that are happening there, but doesn't seem like it's long term, and you don't think this is all precautionary is where your head's at.
Yes, they know that they're on the doorstep of getting the 1 seed and having the easiest path possible to the Super Bowl. Why play Jalen Hurts at this point? Like, even if it's just a 1 week thing, you can go, let's say they win. If they win on Christmas Eve, which is going to be a whole other level of chaos, including for me, if my mentions are going to be ridiculous if they lose.
Oh, yeah,
they
Gardner
beat Dallas.
Minshew-led Eagles?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah, I'm going to eat
I'll
all
be
the shit,
first
which
one.
is fine. At me, Discord, Twitter, I don't give a fuck. Hit me up. It's fine. I can take it. But, like, if you could go and win that game and you've got the 1 seed locked up already, you have 3 more weeks after that where Gardner Minshew can play, Jalen Hurts can sit, he can get 100%, you play your other starters, you're not benching everybody necessarily, that's another discussion. But, like, the shoulder's not great. Look, if he had to play today, if he had to play next week, if he was fighting for the 1 seed, if this was a little bit closer, say Dallas didn't lose to Jacksonville and the Eagles lost to the Bears, then I think Jalen Hurts plays this week.
You're probably right.
They might as well be extra cautious because he's the MVP right now. Like, he's right there. So for a guy like this, don't rush anything. It's all about the Super Bowl at this point. They understand that, and they can let him sit.
And when you're making this decision based on that, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, forget if they even lost in Chicago. If they won and Dallas won, I still think he's playing this game. But now that you know, listen, you have Dallas, then you've got nobody for the after that. Garner, this tells me is our team is so confident. I'm so confident. Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni and that fool Shane Steichen are all so confident that they could beat one of the so that game theory shit that was going around over the last 2 games of like, just sit your starters against Dallas because you're going to be able to beat the Saints once or the Giants once or who's ever kind of left over on the schedule. But this is kind of like forcing their hand more or less and be like, all right. And by the way, this is the only critique I have. Like, yes, he could probably go, but man, there's a difference between being in a football game and throwing with a sprained shoulder. Beautiful throws to A.J. Brown, which we witnessed on Sunday, and the adrenaline leaving your body after all that because it's in survival mode because you're playing football by a goddamn lake that's blowing at 20 miles an hour and you're going, I'm just trying to stay warm. At first, when he went down, everybody went, oh shit, right? Like, oh my God, something bad happened. And it did. It did happen. So I don't think it's all precautionary. I just think if you can throw a ball, you wake up and you go, okay, I can throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball normally, and I can barely grip a ball today, and maybe that thing comes out at 85 when I put a cortisone shot in it. That's enough to stop somebody. Like, that's what I mean. It's significant enough where I'm not going to be able to play football. Yes, he could go out and play. Do I want him to go out and play in this one? No! Absolutely not. This is, I'm sorry to say, the best time for the QB2 system. It doesn't matter. This is why you have Gardner Minshew here, and I hate the fact that he is just like, I think it's going to create a lot of complications over the next 2 weeks over Jalen Hurts, the MVP, the quarterback. How good is he really? And I welcome that conversation again, but I don't care. Go get the win. Worry about that stuff later. I don't think you should play him at all this week because he probably can't throw a football. It's it's a swelling in your shoulder. You can't, it's either separated, broken, or torn apart or sprained like it is now. Thank God it's sprained, but it doesn't mean you could wake up and just oh yeah, I'll just do the same things I did in Chicago. That's not going to happen on the road again for the third time in a row. I'm fine with Gardner Minshew going in this game.
Yeah, it's totally okay. You have no reason to force it. You don't. And this would be the same extreme, I think, if they were an awful team. Like, if the Eagles were the Houston Texans right now and they had one win, Jalen Hurts ain't playing this week.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're looking out for the future of the franchise. Luckily for the Eagles, the future of the franchise is February. So that's all you care about. But, for Jalen Hurts at this point, I don't think it's that bad as they're making it out, as some people were reacting to this. And ultimately, I mean, let's talk about the injury itself.
Yeah.
Okay? Because a lot of the complaining that I've seen, this is Twitter, this is the Discord, this is everywhere, it's they ran Jalen Hurts too much. Well, you know what? This is the price of doing business. This is what you wanted. This is what everybody wanted. You wanted the best version of Jalen Hurts. You want to see him doing all these amazing things. MVP discussion. I said he's the MVP. You said he's the MVP. Why is he the MVP? He runs. That's a big part of this. He's a great passer, too. Don't get me wrong. But he's on his way to set a record for rushing touchdowns from a quarterback. We'll see if he does that now. But, he was right there. He's getting all these yards on the ground. I mean, this isn't even the first time he's had 17 carries in a game. This is the third time.
Yeah.
He's had 16 twice. He's had 15 once. Nobody said a peep in those games. We haven't really had any conversation whatsoever about Jalen Hurts has had too many carries. Is this offense built the wrong way? No, he's what makes the offense go, and you just need to accept that for now. I mean, if they're going to change this in the next couple of years, they can do that. But for what this team is predicated on, what makes him great, what makes the Eagles on track for the number 1 seed right now, it's Jalen running the ball. I have no regrets about this. I don't have any second guessing about this. It just happens. He's a football player. You can get hurt any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I'm kind of against, we had that debate. Taylor was in on it too. I don't think they did anything egregious. I don't. But this is another thing where I think you could have just dialed it back 3 or 4. And I'm not saying, who knows? It could have happened on any RPO. So, why is this one more significant than what they did in the first quarter or the fourth? Or it's just I agree with you in that sense. It's just fucking football sometimes. And that's what happened. He made the right read. It's not like handing off to Miles Sanders would have made an overall positive impact. You don't think about that when you're on the field anyway. Got to protect myself. And I am going to take 30-yard rushing touchdowns when a safety decides he wants to blitz and come in and run for a touchdown. Yes, of course, you're right. That is a part of his game. If it's on schedule or if it is not, that's when I like him doing his thing. To me, where you could critique Nick Sirianni is in the designed run phase, but even then, now it looks as if, in this game especially, Jalen was very comfortable in calling whatever it was. Calling it to Devontae Smith, and he was very vocal about that. The safety touchdown, which we just mentioned, I'm going to assume Jalen did that on his own, on reading it on instinct. That's amazing. He should be doing that. RPO is the same thing. Read, react. What's my best option here? And he has never, ever been dangerous or careless with his body in any of these carries, in my mind. I still see some of the same problems of his broken pocket and lose it. I think there are times you could probably save yourself the trouble, but outside of that, it'd be really nitpicking his game to be like, please don't do that anymore because we need you in the shoulder and all this. Like, yeah, football is football. You're going to get hurt. Your second quarterback is going to play at some point because that's just statistically true. And this is, dude, like, whatever. Everybody had that rumor for a second that douchebag was saying it was a broken collarbone and your mind is starting to race again. Like, oh, my God, what is it with this franchise and quarterbacks having to wrap up the 1 seed? But here we are again, and it's part of playing the game. That's why Gardner Minshew's here, and I got a lot of ticks on that.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly. Yes, have a great backup quarterback, have a great team. Like they're able to do all those things right now.
A 2 QB system, perhaps.
I mean, I'm not pulling Jalen normally, but I know you want to, but I'm not doing it. So like, but. Yeah, man. I mean, you can't ask for anything more of this guy as a performer. He's giving you the best possible version of himself every single week, and it is his decision making. It is his legs. I mean, a lot of those carries too. I said it on the post game, although I was slurring it a lot. But I did say on the post game, and I watched the game again after knowing the news that Jalen got hurt. I'm like, all right, well, let's go through some of these carries. And like again, Miles Sanders, when they're trying to give him the ball, or Jalen, anybody, anything up the middle, in between the tackles. They didn't have it. It just wasn't there. The only way they could create anything was getting to the perimeter and trying to get these runs. That's where Jalen does most of his running anyway. It's like outside of the occasional draw, it's not like, all right, we're going to do a counter up the gut where Miles Sanders is blocking for Jalen Hurts or something stupid. You know what I mean? Like he's back there. He's in the shotgun. It's a read option. He makes the right read. For him, his reads are going to lead him off tackle right in that area. So it's more space to work with, all the agility and things, and he's fine. I mean, it's just you either want him to run the ball and you believe that that's a part of his game or you don't. And I believe it's a part of his game. I think it's an essential part of his game. I think he's a good passer, but he's not the MVP without it.
This also doesn't stop him from running the ball. That's what's, it's not going to like, hey, ultimately, yes, you don't want to be chucked aside because you can't throw football anymore. But, I mean, at worst, still his best weapon if you want to look at it so one-dimensionally like that. And that's why, like, yeah, I'm with you. And I don't think they did anything egregious in the play calling outside of it just not executing it and probably being the wrong calls. However, I do feel the sentiment of this. And I feel it too. And I drunkenly said, like, I just thought he lost the MVP just because of the surface level bullshit that we're going to have to talk about. Some of that was starting to bubble up, but it's disappointing now because you can't even have the fucking conversation anymore. It's over. Like, Jalen Hurts is not going to win MVP. It is arbitrary. I know we're all past that, and I am too, and I've said a million times, Super Bowl, yes, but just once, and this is more of a 4-for-4 thing than it is an Eagles thing, but, I mean, you've got Embiid almost winning the goddamn MVP, and it doesn't happen. Bryce Harper, great, that happened. I don't really care about the Phillies that much, so I'm just like, I wish there was one solidified MVP that I cared about that was in and is the best of, and, like, it just sucks. That's all. That part of me is still processing a lot of this part of it, but I don't think anyone's to blame for it, which I've seen, and I think that's what you're getting at here. Like,
yeah, I don't blame
football.
I don't blame anybody for anything. This is who they've been all along. This wasn't a change in the normal course of business in any way, shape, or form. It made them an elite team, so it's not like you did all this and you got your ass kicked, and what was this for? Like, I mean, early in his career, McNabb, he had to make that transition from a runner to more of a pocket guy. He made that decision because ultimately, like, there was that time he ran out on the sideline on the Titans game and he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
And you lose him for, like, the whole season. That sucks. Game in Atlanta, week 1, that might have been, like, 05. He gets hit in the chest, helmet in the chest. There was that big fight before the game. That was a crazy one. That fucked him up for the whole season. And, like, his body couldn't take all those hits, and especially at that point, he's in his career for 5 years, 6 years. And at that point, he goes, all right, I'm switching away from this and just using my mobility to survive, and I'm going to pass. But for Jalen, I mean, it's his second season as a starter. He is a young guy. He has taken the hits well. He's usually good about using his body in ways where he's not getting shellacked. It did happen a couple of times against the Bears. And part of it, too, credit to the Bears. Everybody wants to keep saying, oh, it's a 3-win team and this and that. But, like...
Oh, don't start that crap.
I'm telling you, it's the 3-win team. The 3-win team was...
Don't start any day in the NFL.
No,
well... It was a bad plan. You should have boat raced them and gotten out of there.
They should have, but they didn't. And the Bears, to especially on the defensive side, they played well. And the Eagles had turnovers, which forced them to run and play these kinds of plays late in the game. I mean, Jalen has 2 picks. picks. That's part of this equation. Miles Sanders is supposed to be the answer, has a fumble on the screen. There's just things in this game that don't make it easy for them to go, all right, well, we don't have to run. We don't have to compete. This isn't a game, because it was a game. You are fighting for the 1 seed still, and you got to go with the game. So if the Bears sucked and this was the third quarter, fourth quarter, and they're up by 21, yeah, like I'd be a little bit angrier about this, but it was a competitive game, and that's what you have to do. So,
well, here's where I'll fight back on that just a little bit, because this reminded me a lot of whatever was going on. There's been some theories back and forth. Clearly you could tell the emotions were in the game for the Colts, and they wanted to fucking smash them to pieces. I feel as though either Jalen, Sirianni, a combination of everybody is just like, yeah, let's just make Jalen shine against this crappy Bears team on the road, and this will start to slow down the MVP conversation because it's starting to leak into the locker room or whatever it is. Like, we can just be done with this. Something like that happened in this game too, and that's what I put the blame on. Everyone, including Jalen, in this conversation. If you really want to get down to it of like why they stumbled or why this happened, and we're all sitting here pissing and moaning about a good win in the end. But, if you want to put the blame, it's everybody on that side of the football wanted to do MVP-like things and have everybody kiss their ass this week. And it didn't happen. And unfortunately, the result is your QB is going to hang out on ice for a week or two here.
Yeah. But he's going to do that when you might lock up the 1 seed anyway, right. And then you're going to have a bye, and then you're playing at home, and like there's just so many good things that go into all of this. The line is great, so like if they need to do things to mitigate the hits that he takes and be a little more selective, they can do that because they have the talent and they're evolving as an offense enough where you can do all of that. So like all those things feel good, and even more like long-term stuff. Like back to the McNabb thing a little bit. People might say, "Oh, well, Cam Newton," and look what happened with Cam Newton. Also, Cam Newton had one good season as a passer. One. He was an MVP that year. He played out of his mind. He was as precise with the deep ball as I've ever seen. He was immaculate. Every other year, he is not a great passer. He never has been. But they built an offense around him as a runner, and it made them competitive for a long time. That year, he had it all together. He was an MVP. They got to the Super Bowl. So, like, I would trust Jalen as a passer long term, being able to develop, to transition his game. In time, they can do that. But for now, what makes them great? This is what makes them great.
I want to know what Taylor thinks about all this, too. And real quickly, while you're here watching and listening, make sure you're going to liquiddeath.com/bell to find out where all those delicious 16.9-ounce seltzers and flat waters are around you, because I see Taylor grabbing the flat OG cans, and that just warms my heart. I also know he has some interesting takes on Jalen himself, and we kind of teased that on Sunday. So just have at it here, T, because like you think this is somewhat Jalen, right? Pushing this.
Because he's a stat hawk. He wants to run the numbers up.
Like paying attention to said Cam Newton numbers. This year's
exactly.
Yeah.
He's aware of all these numbers. He knows how many rushing touchdowns, how many rushing yards. And that was my main point about, having him run less. Like, it's not completely necessary unless he's running into the end zone or running out of bounds. There's so many more options that you can have on the field. But I think he likes to chase those numbers a little too much.
Some truth in it?
Oh, yeah, I would bet. Look, you can't be in a position that he's at and not have an ego.
As he should. It's just when it feels more forced than it should be.
On games like Chicago or Indianapolis or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's just tough because like a lot of times he still makes good decisions when he does it. You know what I mean? So he is stat hogging a bit, but he's doing it in a smart way.
It's not all the time, but when it sticks out, feels obvious. Yeah.
And this might be one of those times, which is, dude, I think Taylor's absolutely right, but I also am going, well, fucking yeah. If any one of us was in that position to be like, okay,
I'm not.
I know Taylor's not saying that.
Yeah.
But if any one of us is in a position to go, you assholes didn't think any of this was possible, and now I've got a chance to put a stamp on this with an MVP, you're goddamn right I'm going to stat pump. Or, A.J. Brown's going to tell me to throw the ball to him a couple more times, or Devontae or whatever it is. Like we said, he still put up MVP numbers despite the passing touchdowns, which I thought was going to end the conversation anyway. But I don't know, man. I love this team. It has the moxie. You should be doing some of that stuff. You should want to go in there and kill everybody. I just think it's twice it's bitten them in the ass, and they still came out with wins.
Yeah, they
You know?
still came out with wins, and that's right now. I think that's the biggest thing, right? It's worth the trade. Like if it's a minor injury, and this gets you to the point where he could be 100%, because like. We heard Schefter today talking about it. He was all over the map. I really don't know what the fuck he was trying to say.
Oh, he was trying to be nice to Howie Roseman to give him more information.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was trying to say that like he'd be 100% for the Super Bowl if they waited, or like how
if
bad
this was the Super Bowl, he'd be able to go. It was one of those two.
So he was a little all over the place with the messaging, but the general idea is Jalen Hurts is okay. It's not like he's missing extended time. It's going to take a miracle for him to play. He's probably going to miss this week, and that's fine. So like when that's the trade-off to winning another game, and now you're right there in the driver's seat, like it's almost impossible to not get the 1 seed at this point. You take that. Like you take that right now, because the running is part of what gets you there. I mean, again, for all the MVP arguing that everybody's done, what is it? It's combined numbers. We emphasize that all the time, right? It's the rushing yards. It's the rushing touchdowns. To go with the passing, because that's him as a player. That is the complete picture. That is what makes him that valuable. So when you argue those things, champion those things, and fight Patrick Mahomes because of those things, well, this is the price you pay. So it's right now it's got you in a 1 seed. You're in a comfortable place, and Minshew's going to take it home, baby.
And not only is he going to take it home, but man, I've got some major Minshew takes, obviously, because I have shaved into a mustache, and just whatever it is, put it in at the +6 to +5 if you're a gambling type of person, or whatever it is. I feel uber confident about it, almost as confident as our friend Barney Pearlstein, who we said during that said Colts game in our Discord, which you can go, jump in, bellthebirdmen.com, and we said, listen, if Miles Sanders scores on this drive, and he called it, he says Miles is going to score on this drive, then we will let you come on the show and boast about it, and it's time to pay the piper. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the one and only Pushestein to yell at us about Miles Sanders and have a fun debate about that. And there he is. He magically appears. It is the wonderful, the beautiful Barney Pearlstein. Barney, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you for finally having me on the show.
Of course, thanks for calling a Miles Sanders touchdown in the middle of while we were sitting at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Well, that was Detroit, actually.
Was that Detroit?
It was
that long ago?
Week
that
1.
was week 1.
Yeah, see, we're catching up on some things now, and you were definitely towards the top of the list.
Yeah.
Because this was before Miles Sanders had scored a touchdown, by the way.
That's right.
It was so much of like, is he going to score even 5 touchdowns this year? And Barney, you were like, yeah, he's going to do all that stuff. And then you called the first one on the first drive that he did it. Like, ridiculous.
I also want to give a shout out to my son. I was actually in the hospital room that morning because he had just was born the night before.
See?
And I was looking down at him. I'm like, you know what? Miles Sanders is going to have a career year. He's going to score a touchdown. The baby just looked over at me. He's like, fuck yeah, he is.
Go tell him, Daddy.
Yeah. So,
and he did.
Shout out to the water boy and Miles Sanders. By the way, can we incorporate some liquid death into the Miles Sanders water boy persona? I mean,
it's very possible.
That we got to make that connection somehow. I don't know.
Also, hire Barney to be our marketing person. Why is he the only one coming up with good ideas?
I'm just saying.
I don't know if he's got any good Miles Sanders ideas. So I really do want to get into like where this may all end up going, because I think that's what we've been debating about, and you do a very good job of pissing everybody off in the Discord, especially myself. So
I am the resident Discord villain.
But when you listen to your takes, it's much easier to understand, where your head is at and things like that. But first and foremost, we've been talking about the injury, worriness for you, real quickly. Yes, no on Jalen and all that.
I mean, I'm mildly worried only because he will take time off, especially if we do win the Cowboys game. Shout out to Ryan on the Discord. He actually made that point to me last night.
Ryan Meehan, the best. I think that's how you say that last name.
Yeah.
I'd say Meehan, but
Mahan, however you want to.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not really nervous, but I mean, there is the fact that if we do win this game, they probably will rest him the majority of the season, if not the whole regular season.
And I think that's fine, which means your boy is going to be able to pad stats, right?
Minshew?
Minshew.
Barney is wearing a Minshew Mania t-shirt. He's wearing a Minshew Mania t-shirt for the
That's
pod.
right. That's right.
It's a great shirt. We saw that last year, I believe, as well, out at the bar. But
we did. So
yeah, Barney had the whole get-ups at the bar. I mean, bringing the belt and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's just good to have you back for that. But let's talk about Miles for a minute here, Barney, because I mean, frankly, I still don't think he's that good.
Well, Micah Quinn, I should say. You don't think he's that good because you think it's the offensive line that's the reason why he's actually producing this year. He's had the same offensive line his whole career, other than the stinger he had with Wentz. Well, I'm just saying.
He's had the
For the
same
most
caliber
part.
of line.
But what I'm saying
Yeah.
is just saying it's the offensive line and not him is just like saying it's not Jalen Hurts, it's the team. I mean, all running backs have an offensive line. I mean, that's their job. You know what I mean? Like, is Gainwell producing like this? Is Boston Scott producing like this? They have the same exact line. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying.
Well,
all
those
right.
guys, I mean, those guys get, those guys are more passing guys anyway, and Boston Scott's hardly a factor at all. But, like, I don't think Miles just hit the hole before. I feel like the blocking's always been the same, and then John was laughing at me at it because I spent the whole offseason going, if Miles hits the hole, man. If he hits the hole. If he hits the hole.
I think you
And
had said that at one point last year too. You guys were both telling me that, which is
And now he
funny
hits the
because he's
hole,
kind of doing
though.
it.
That's what I think is the difference is he's just hitting the hole now, but he's always had the holes.
Well, I think he's hitting the hole now better, obviously, but I think he was hitting the hole last year, too. I just think he wasn't getting the respect. He wasn't being running the first half of the season. We went over that. I mean, once
There's a reason why still.
the reason why is because Zach Ertz was still on the team. And we not to go back into that, but once
Yeah.
they traded him, they kind of realized, oh, shit, let's run the fucking ball. And that's where the whole run the ball came into play, which I don't even need to say anymore because at this point, you know, we are a running team. It's just the pass actually works. And because we have the threat of the pass, the run works so much better now.
Wow. At least
Yeah.
we're on the same page. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's taken 2.5 years. At least we're on
Oh,
the
we're
same
definitely on the
page
same
there.
page now. I don't need to say run the ball anymore because they run the fucking ball. You know what I mean? But now, because the pass works, it's not so repetitive like, oh, we're going to stack the box 9, 10 men and just stop
Yeah.
Miles Sanders. He actually has a couple open lanes.
Well, here's what's part of it, because the thing that's been happening all like leading up to this, the main one of the big narratives coming out of this game is you should have run Miles more to save Jalen or whatever. But like the Bears shut him down. What are we talking about? Like,
Yeah, I
what
mean,
wasn't
Miles
working?
did not have a good game at all. I mean, I think you definitely should have run Miles more than you should. I think he didn't really. I think he had 3 carries in the first half.
Yeah,
Something stupid like that, or
he
like
had
nothing
very
in the first
few.
half.
Yeah, 3 to
So, I mean,
5.
and the biggest thing that I have when you guys are bringing all this stuff up, when it's just like, oh, you can't say Jalen Hurts MVP and not mention the offensive line and then run it. Yes, you can. He has the ball in his hands every freaking play. The offensive line is going to make a mistake at some point. The offensive line is probably going to make a mistake on a Miles Sanders carry too. Like, it happens. Shit happens. If you're telling me that a guy has to get volume, which is always just a game breaker for me. And like Alvin Kamara never needed volume to get going. You just gave him the fucking ball and he went. Miles Sanders isn't that guy. He's still now with Goddard coming back. AJ Devontae, probably like 5th. Because like you, even now when we're dealing with, hey, Hurts just got injured, maybe got to limit his carries or whatever. He's still the best runner on the field that they have. And he's going to have the best opportunities because, like, they're not keen on the quarterback still for some reason. I don't know. So I don't know where to place Miles' value between all that.
Well, it's kind of hard to tell because, like you said, the rest of the team is just so goddamn dynamic. I mean, but and even I'm just saying, like, hey, I love Miles, I love running the ball, but hey, let's give AJ and Smith the fucking ball because they're fucking monsters. You know what I mean? Like, you got some Batmans on your team and a fucking water boy, use them. So,
Miles Sanders, the $10 million water boy.
but yeah, I mean, obviously, I love Miles Sanders, but I'm also a Howie guy. I'm not paying Miles Sanders $20 million a year.
Yeah, okay, good, good.
so
I support all that.
But
Thank you.
where
Thank
are we getting to with Miles Sanders? Like, what's okay?
So I can see a definite Howie contract where he gets a $40 million over 3 years, 20 guaranteed over the first 2 years, and then that last year balloons up to like 18 or 19 million. But he's got to prove it. It's not guaranteed.
Oh
So you
God.
still kind of get him around that like 10 to 12 million a year range.
Yikes.
It's just you're not, if he really is that guy or willing to restructure in his like 3rd or 4th year, then he could stay. If not, you don't really have all that dead cap because it's Howie. Howie's not going to structure a deal where he gives him 30 million guaranteed on a $35 million deal. That's
Yeah.
just not Howie.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a heart attack. You want 40 million? Ooh, 40 million scares the shit
no,
out of me.
I'm saying the way it's
he's saying
structured.
20
I
million.
know, but
20
like,
million for
all
2
right,
years. is
even
what it is.
practically-
AJ's getting 60 million right now, but like he's only getting like 15 over the next 2 years.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I'm saying the way it's structured, it's not, he has to prove it in those later years to actually get that money.
Yeah.
So I don't think Howie's going to put us in a situation where we're on the hook for Miles at age 29 making 20 million a year.
See,
You know?
okay, because like raw value, and I get that. There's always, like the last 2 years of a 5-year deal are just never real, basically.
Exactly.
So I get all that. I guess for me, it's like if I was thinking about what Miles Sanders is worth relative to like if I was going to get a running back from anywhere in the league and put them on this team, could they do what Miles does? I think more often than not, yeah. Like, I look at Miles, I'd pay him like $4 million.
I know this is a couple of years ago, but everybody was trying to figure out like the Chargers running back situation between like Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, and all that stuff, and they had very similar things, but you could tell Austin was going to pull up in front of him. The same thing that's happening with Tony Pollard and Zeke right now. The same thing that will always continue on and on and on here. I just don't know how effective you can or rely on like Miles Sanders is our second round guy moving forward, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer type of Brian Westbrook. I just don't see that happening at all.
You know what this situation actually kind of reminds me of? And don't laugh because they're completely different running backs, but I kind of compare them to Marshall Faulk the year they won the championship. And this is why. Think about the receivers that were on that team.
He can't catch.
Who were the receivers on that
Did
team?
you just say Marshall
No,
Faulk?
listen, I said two completely different kind of running backs, but the same situation. Who were the receivers on that team? Were there not
Torrey
two
Holt,
Hall-
Isaac Bruce.
Yes.
Were they not two Hall of Fame receivers?
Yes, they were.
Is Devontae Smith kind of built like Isaac Bruce?
I mean, a little bit. I actually think
Kind of a little bit.
actually think I
Is
made
A.J.
that
Brown
both
kind of built like
technicians.
Torrey Holt?
I think you made that comp. Actually, I think
Yeah.
you said Isaac Bruce.
Yeah,
at one point.
they're both great technicians.
This is one of the greatest shows on turf that I've ever fucking seen. How about you? I'm not saying he's Marshall Faulk. I'm
He's
not saying they're the
definitely
same
not.
kind of running back.
He's-
Obviously, they're very fucking different running backs. But it's the same
Taylor,
situation.
who is Marshall Faulk's backup? That's who he is.
Like,
on the greatest show on turf.
God, like
I'm saying the
trunk
situation.
candidate or
Listen,
something? Are we?
Put it in perspective. I'm saying the situation. Marshall Faulk was what? The third option on that team because they had such prolific wide receivers. It's the same thing with Miles Sanders. He's not getting the touches because he doesn't need to get the touches. And I don't want him to get the touches right now because guess what?
But he also doesn't deserve the touches, though, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like-
That's where we've arrived.
Why
He
doesn't he-
doesn't deserve the touches because A.J. Brown is a Hall of Famer, because Devontae Smith is probably going to be a Hall of Famer too. And guess what? So is Dallas Goedert. So, like,
He doesn't
what are we
deserve the-
doing?
He doesn't deserve the touches, one, because Jalen Hurts is a beast. He can run the fucking
There's
ball.
4. That's what I'm saying. We're right back to 5. So in 1 year, you've gone to Miles Sanders as a cornerstone piece to like, Boston Scott and everybody else doing okay too.
Listen, I love Miles Sanders, but listen, other guys can come in and fill that role, just not as well as Miles fucking Sanders. It just
I don't
is what it
disagree
is.
with that.
It just
but it's
is
an
what it is.
expensive thing.
Yeah.
It's an expense. Like the leap isn't that far. And if Gainwell maybe like, I don't know, needs a few protein shakes and gains about 5 more pounds in the offseason, like, it's pretty close.
So to that point, if for some strange, bizarro reason Jalen Hurts is out for the year and Gardner Minshew comes in and wins us a fucking Super Bowl, are you paying Jalen Hurts $40 million a year, or are you riding Gardner Minshew because he's
Paying
cheaper?
Jalen Hurts $40 million a year.
Fuck exactly. Why? Because he's fucking better. He's fucking better. That's what we're saying. It's
was
not
better
about the
last year,
backup.
too.
Well, what I'm just saying, it's not about the backup who could do what he does, kind of the same thing, but for cheaper, because Miles Sanders is fucking better than the backups. Jalen Hurts is better than the backup. That's why you pay these guys. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Well, it's
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Barney's finally saying goodbye to Miles Sanders the right way. That's what he's telling
Well,
me.
I'll be saying goodbye to Miles Sanders. I wish him well. I mean, he's had a great season, and like he's finally figured it. Like he finally became an NFL running back at the back half of last year. He started actually playing at a pro level rather than just being an athlete out there. So he's making the most out of his talent now. I don't know. I mean, I would draft a guy in the 4th round next year and just let it ride. And
He's the best running back in the
Nice
NFC
collection
this
of-
year. That's all I got to say. He's the best running back in the NFC.
oh man, yeah.
Taylor, what do you got there, buddy?
Trunk candidate would be the comp.
I nailed that.
How did you remember that?
No, dude, come on.
It's a name drop.
Come on,
Way to
dude.
pull.
I got trunk candidate right. Are you kidding me?
I didn't even remember that. So
No one remembers that guy exists. He was like a 97 speed in Madden. So there you go.
First round pick.
Ooh, see?
Wow.
Dude's definitely a 68 in Madden. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was. But he was fast, and in those Maddens, that's all that matters.
He's one of those
Yes.
guys you lose in the free agency waiver wire. Like, oh, that guy's there too?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll pick him up.
Might as well. I know that name.
Oh, that's so good.
Barney, any Minshew takes before we say goodbye to everybody, by the way?
I just hope that we can do what the Cowboys couldn't do, is go on the road, win with a backup, and, talk some shit afterwards. Merry fucking Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Let's fucking go.
That is Barney Pearlstein. I'm John Barchard for Vince Quinn. And that is Taylor Kredatus. We've had so much fun, Barney. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me.
I'll have plenty of takes about Minshew, and we're going to fire up that ecstasy of gold finally because we're going to go clinch ourselves a spot here. I don't know if this mustache is going to last till Thursday.
I don't think it should. That's your call. It's your face ultimately, but goddamn, no.
Keep it. Keep
yeah,
it.
yeah, like Taylor likes it for some reason.
Well,
and-
Taylor's an agent of chaos.
Yeah,
that's
that's
why.
very
Why?
Yeah, well, always.
So, tell me to shave it or not. 215-509-5833. Just
Yes.
simply yes or no.
Can we make that a Twitter poll?
Yeah, we can make it a Twitter poll.
All
too.
right.
So, we will see you on Thursday with or without this mustache. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe down below to the YouTube, and we will see you then. BellTheBirdmen.com. Okay, bye.